With the announcement of Endwalker came one piece of news that's had a lot of people both excited and worried. That was the announcement that this would be the finale of the current story of Final Fantasy XIV. A lot of people online seem to have taken this as the announcement that the game itself is ending or it's going to go into maintenance mode. But would they really do something like this right now? Especially when the game is only on its way up in popularity? The short answer is no, of course not. It's not over, only the current major story arc is. But what does this mean for the future of the game? Well, my name's Vic Wright and that's what I want to talk about today. So to start, I'm going to explain the term maintenance mode. It's one of the terms used to describe the state of games like Final Fantasy XI are currently in. No major content cycle, it's alive but it only gets infrequent content updates and mostly exists so people can still go back, play and experience what it did have before it reached the end of its time in the spotlight. The way this would work for Final Fantasy XIV is we would get self-contained stories each expansion with no major build up to anything else. We slowly get more improvements on the trust system until we reach a point where we can do every dungeon, normal trial and normal raid with trust so that anyone struggling to form a party can still do so, allowing everyone who currently plays or plays in the future to still be able to witness the story if they would like to. After that, the 3 to 4 month cycle of patches would slow down and we'd start getting less and less updates until we start to reach a state where there's only content coming out every so often and the game mostly just exists as a way to replay and experience it for the first time. Basically for people who want to play for the story, acting as a single player game. While this probably will happen one day, I think it's going to be a far off time from now. It'll be when Square finally moves on to a new Final Fantasy MMO or just does away to the idea of an MMO altogether. I strongly believe it's not going to happen anytime soon because of quite a few things. The game's popularity is at an all-time high. The game prints money for Square right now. There's still many plot threads and places we haven't explored, and they just announced a new data center. As for what they mean by the story ending, it's simply just that the Hydaelyn and Zodiac story is ending. Like imagine you're watching some long-running anime series, and within the first 2 seasons, they reveal the big bad, the guy behind it all, and the MC swears he's going to take him down, and then at the end of season 5, he finally does. And the problem is solved. But then you look it up online and you find out there's another 5 seasons with more being made. That's basically what I think's happening here. Once the current plots are over, it means they have a point to branch off and go into other directions, no longer having to worry about making sure the next expansion will have some tie-in to certain key plot points. They could decide they want to do an entire expansion on the Void, or any of the other shards. We could go to space. We could have brand new contents that barely anyone from Eorzea has ever stepped foot in before. We have Mericidia. We have Allegan history we could go into. We could have something with Omega's origins or the Dragon's original star. With the main arc ending, they basically can choose to either start a new mage arc or just take the time to make the expansion stories they want without having to worry about how it's going to tie into the Ascians or the Garleans. Also, as a side note, I think having a major arc ending with a big shake-up to the world and story is a smart idea. The story has been ongoing for a while now, and as tragic as it is, not everyone who started the story is still around to see it end, especially with the current state of the world. I think, in a way, by ending the main arc, those people who might be losing the ability to continue to play the game, or those who just can't enjoy the story as much, will finally have an ending point, a form of closure in a way, and I think that's something very nice because none of us know what's going to happen in the future. And to be able to think, I saw this ending, and not have any form of regret that you're not going to be around to see how it all plays out, I think that's just a nice thing to be able to think. Moving on from that though, I mentioned earlier about the Oceanic data center. This is likely a major investment on Square's part, and the cost alone to do this would not have been worth it if they were planning to drop support over the next coming years. I mean sure, they'd probably make the money back pretty quickly, but they could just have easily have not bothered and not run the risk of losing the money in the first place if they were planning on slowing down support. All this aside, I don't think there's any need to worry about the game losing support from Square or the game ending, though I can't blame people for being worried. It is a time investment to play this game, and long-standing players would be worried about all their progress going away, and newer players would be worried about joining in on the game if it's already starting to end. But I mean, Final Fantasy XI's still up, everything's there, and it does get content updates every now and then. In the end though, I think Final Fantasy XIV still has many potential stories to tell, and with the current popularity and revenue, I can't foresee this being a sign of the game slowing down and going into maintenance mode yet. rest assured, you got plenty of years of idling in Limsa ahead of you. This was a bit of a shorter video, but I just wanted to get my thoughts about this whole situation out there, and hopefully bring up some points that others may not have considered, and maybe help ease the worry of some of you out there. I'm thinking of doing the occasional small discussion video like this in the future. I need a topic, of course, and I haven't really got any planned yet, but you can expect to see more videos like this popping up every now and then in the future. But anyway, thank you for watching, please support the channel, and I'll see you all next time.